Hi, I'm Mara Webster with In Creative Company, and thank you so much for tuning into one of our talks. I'm so excited today to be talking about the fantastic NBC series Kenan. And today we are so fortunate to be joined by the fantastic Kenan Thompson himself, as well as Chris Redd and Don Johnson. And Kenan, I wanted to dive straight in by talking to you about your central character of Kenan within the show, because I thought it was really interesting to hear you describe how there are similarities and there are some parallels in creating him as a character who's in an entertainment adjacent job, being a parent to two young kids, to yourself. And actually, the genesis of that was for the audience and to really tap into the way that they relate to you as a performer. And so I was just interested in kind of the conversations that happened during the development process that led to you all thinking about it in that form.
Yeah, I mean, I think you just nailed it on the nose as far as like the energy that people are expectant, to feel from me as a performer. And in the beginning, I was a real estate agent, and as exciting as real estate is, it kind of just wasn't there. You know what I'm saying? So the natural flip and progression into like a morning show hosting type of environment or whatever was just way more comfortable shoes as far as audiences are concerned, to make it seem like the character was closer to myself, because I think the greater sitcoms have always been kind of reflective of where that comic was in the audience's ears. Bill Cosby himself, everybody, he was, Captain Dad basically going through it. So his show reflected that. Martin, on top of his Def Jam days, you know what I mean? So his show reflected that. And, that's kind of where, the thinking kind of led for me, basically.
Yeah. And then, Don, with all of the incredible experience that you have as an actor within the industry, it's actually quite interesting to realize that sitcoms are a newer space for you as a performer. And so within that, what were some of the skills and tools that you had to think about a little bit differently in terms of your craft and approach as an actor to some of the other projects that you've done over the years?
Um, I'm still figuring it out. I'm still learning. I, you know, I don't know. For me, it's about instinct and intuition. It's and also I'm a good study. I watch Kenan and I watch Chris and I go, oh, shit, that's pretty good. Let me see if I can do something near that. And I come from a place where you ground the character in some reality because if you can ground your character in reality or whatever is passing for reality at the moment, then the funny that comes out of that is richer and usually funnier. But it's richer when it's grounded in character and comes out of that character. And so even though it's a different, it's the same skill set, it's the same tools, it's just how it's using them in a different way. Would you agree with that?
I think we all agree. We're all nodding together in our different quadrants. Like, yeah, everybody's nodding.
Yeah, that's right.
And Chris, actually, off the back of
I mean, I think.
Sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
No. I was just going to say, Lauren always tells us, like, even for sketch, like, if the sketch isn't, grounded in some sort of reality, it just won't work for the audience there. Like, they'll allow you to be as crazy as you want as long as it's reflective of something that makes sense in the real world. You know what I'm saying? So when you start there, it kind of gives you the golden pass to kind of take it anywhere, basically. 100%.
Absolutely. And off the back of that point, Chris, what I love about what you do with your character, Gary, is, you self-admit that he doesn't make all the best choices. Sometimes he's a little bit misdirected, but it's so grounded in emotion and heart and his love for Kenan. And so was that always really important to you when you were crafting him as a character initially, that everything came from the right place, even if it doesn't necessarily always land that way in his actions?
Yeah, because I think that a lot of people who make bad decisions in their approach to life aren't always doing it from a bad place or a dumb place. It's just kind of like, it's kind of look just ignorant in the gun ho energy of it all. It's just a kind of an ignorant approach of like seeing a whole. It's kind of like reading a headline and not reading the rest of the news article. You know what I'm saying? It's like that's how he attacks issues. It's like, oh, your problem is getting over your wife. Well, you just need new stuff, but not like getting intricate about it. And I also really love the emotional intelligence of Gary. So even when he's messing up, there's something to kind of ground him as a person. You know what I mean? But I also like just finding different ways to play him really wild and fun and but always grounded in family. Like as long as you have that, because I have a ton of family. I have a huge family and a lot of crazy people in my family. And no matter how crazy they get, when it comes down to like being there for your family, you're always there, you know. And I kind of love that about that character. So.
Yeah. And the show and dynamic between all three of your characters is rooted in Kenan having lost his wife in the show. And, you know, Kenan, you've talked about how in the development process that initially the pilot episode leaned a little more heavily into the deeper emotional side of that. And that part of the journey of making the show was actually reeling it back and finding the comedic space within it a little bit more. And off the back of that, for all of you, I'm really interested in that journey of finding the voice and finding the tone of the show and the way that you wanted to be able to allow their grief to breathe within the show, but also always pulling it back and having that heart and comedy at every single moment as well, because it balances between those spaces so well.
Yeah, I mean, I think Don definitely had a nice, juicy display of having to deal with the fact of our missing dear departed, you know, wife, daughter, sister-in-law, you know what I mean? So for me and Chris, it was more like, you know, we both have each other to kind of lean on and crutch on and move each other through it or whatever. But Don is, you know, exploring this whole thing, you know, kind of free solo a little bit. And he definitely had some juice scenes in that hair show one that definitely, and the way he played it was just so incredibly real. You know, it was chilling and it was like, oh snap, I thought this was supposed to be a sitcom, but it was definitely like, you can't have a sitcom with a subject matter like this and not have moments like that. So I remember being home and being like, damn it, that dude is a damn good actor. I keep saying it.
Yeah, man. I was off work when they were shooting that scene. And I was at work watching it because it was so damn good. Like I mean, just was.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, man. What? Taking notes, bro.
Hey man, it's on the page. You know, when it's on the page, you know, it's you know, that's our thing, and I love the challenge of the show. This is, as you said, Mara. It's not my lane, but I love veering out of my lane. I love being challenged. I love new stuff. I've come to embrace failure as a learning tool, as a powerful learning tool, and to not let fear be an advisor, because it's a terrible advisor.
Terrible.
Yeah.
And Chris and Kenan, I wanted to talk about your characters' relationship and rapport as brothers. And I was very curious about how much you wanted to actually build out their history, build out their backstory and their dynamic with each other, versus how much you actually just found very naturally, because of the rapport and the dynamic and the way that the two of you already work together and have a shared history that's already in existence. So was it a mix of finding it very intrinsically with each other against developing some backstory elements, or which direction did it veer more towards?
Man, that joint felt natural as hell. I'll be very honest with you. Like it was like reading the script, like and like us coming with our characters, and then it was just like the me and Kenan of it all. Like, all right, we gonna just play a lot in this world. You know what I mean? It's just like writing a sketch. We've written so many sketches together. It's just like, you know, we're always in it when we're doing those sketches. This is just a longer, more narrative thing where we get to find the different levels of how to play, you know. And I don't know, it was just natural, bro. I don't even know how to say anything better than that. Like, there wasn't too much thought into it. Like, I didn't have any thought. I just know.
Yeah. For me, the hardest part was trying to, you know, get to a real place of being angry with Chris, you know what I'm saying, about different things in his character, you know what I mean? So I had to really put it into his character, because like I ain't never had a reason to be mad at Chris, you know what I'm saying? He's such a good stand-up dude, like with a big giant heart. He's always giving, he's always trying to make everybody happy, like he's always entertaining everybody. Like I've never had a moment where I was genuinely upset with him. You know what I'm saying? So that was like the biggest challenge, was finding like a real level of like, frustration or, just, anger or anything, like disappointment. Like I've never had those experiences with him, the person. So that was my biggest fishing, basically.
It was fun watching him be mad and reacted to that as Gary, like, oh shit.
Oh.
Seeing the person be mad a couple times, and every time it was warranted, and everybody switched up everything that was going on because it doesn't happen. We're like, oh, I guess everybody should just get on their shit then. And
Similarly for you, Kenan and Dawn, I was interested in the relationship dynamic between your characters because it's such a unique space for them to be in. They were drawn together through Corey, and they've made this choice to be a huge part of each other's lives, even after the loss of her. And the kind of emotional balance that comes in that dynamic and that rapport is really fascinating to watch between the two of them. So how did you decide what you wanted that to be with each other?
Well, again, I mean, I'm sorry. I want to just point out that Kenan and his genius comic sense created the space for these two characters and the tone for for all of these characters in this show to exist. And whereas Gary and Chris and Kenan worked together on SNL all the time, the interesting thing for me was when Kenan and I first got on the phone, I think we were on FaceTime. I mean, the connection was instant, it was immediate, and it was profound. It was deep. And as if something profound had happened in our lives before that was connecting us. I know it sounds a little metaphysical and kind of wacky, but I felt that, and Kenan and I have talked about it. And so getting to play in his neighborhood, where this beautiful space that Kenan has invited us all to come and play in is fertile and rich and fun and exciting, and every day it's something new. And just having to be with these two all day long, basically I go home looking like this and with my sides hurting most every day, because I mean it's a hoot. We virtually go to work and laugh for about 10, 12, 14 hours, whatever it is.
Yeah, I was going to say the exact same thing about that first phone call. Like the connection was immediate, just because we basically identified two things in each other that we hold very strongly. And one is being a parent, and the other is being a professional, you know what I mean? And that kind of vibe came across like, in the first few seconds, because, as a professional, nobody wants to be an asshole and go to work in an asshole environment. You know what I mean? So there's always got to be a respectful tone, and also a tone of, I have my work hat on and I'm not here to play with your time. I overly respect your time. I'm grateful for your time. I'm grateful for your talent. Like all of those things need to be readily apparent in order for people to, free themselves enough to embrace, something that's not as natural for them or whatever. Or, even if it is natural for them, like taking time out of their life, like, Chris could be on the road somewhere doing something, or he could be working on his own project or whatever. So I'm always very, cognizant of that. And I think that, thespian kind of love just, was just vibrating through the phone in the first few seconds. And we were able to kind of go from there, you know what I'm saying? And then we started talking about, psychology. And he told me about a couple of books and sent me some books, and like, just this whole relationship of like, now this person is in my life sort of thing, just kind of took off basically. So by the time we got to set, we were salivating to get into, like building this thing so we could actually see it play back and see what we're actually doing, because there was so much mystery in how are we going to bring this love and this vibe that we have for each other into, the camera and give it to the audience, you know what I mean? Because we all knew that we love it. And, it was very like apparent to us that we like spending time together and we're having such a good time. We just wanted to make sure that we were capturing it in a way that people can, one, be, wowed by, so it's like not the stale, traditional everything that they've seen, so we can stand out and people can kind of really love it and become fans of it. But two, so we could watch it, you know what I mean, and look back at how we have a good time with each other and have those memories all come together as well. So it's a little bit of a bias, in my opinion, on it. Like, when people were giving notes on the show, they were asking me like, so what do you think the show's missing, this, that, and the other? I'm like, I don't know. I had a great time. You know what I'm saying? So you tell me.
I also love the way that Kenan, you've described how when you first met Don, that part of that conversation was also seeing what made him laugh, what's his sense of humor. And particularly on a single cam comedy where you don't have a live audience, I imagine that you're relying on your scene partners in very different ways for all of you, because it's very much about, is the other person responding? You're not thinking about a live audience. And so for all of you, how did you find that each other's sense of humor actually came into play in your own performances and the way that you were approaching comedy?
Oh my God. Oh my God.
I like this. I like to break everybody.
Once you spend a day with us, you know who has what role. Like Chris is the roaster. I'm just, I'm in whenever, you know what I'm saying, something funny is happening. And Don is the storyteller, you know what I'm saying? And like, that's how you just figure out that dynamic, just being around each other and allowing each other to just be natural. But our natural, like we have a group of people that are, beautiful human beings, you know what I mean? So their natural moments, it's just joyous, So like when Don's in joyous mode, he tells us a nice, dirty story from the 80s, And when Chris is in his natural mode, he's roasting the guy with his jeans on too tight, you know what I'm saying? And that's...
It don't matter what it is. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, we can start laughing over virtually nothing. Most people think we're batshit crazy, and there's a good argument for that. But
I'm told Don Johnson's Miami story. He has several, but he told me one. And I told that story 70 times like it's mine.
It is yours, bro.
But I think it's absolutely that infectiousness that comes across in the show with all of you. And I love the way that you all keep describing so many elements of making the show as play. And obviously it's professional, but within comedy, there's always a play element because you have the words on the page and so much is there, but also so much is about the delivery and, the pacing and how you deliver a line can change everything for the entire scene. And so what was the process on this show in having that play element? Was it something that was happening on camera, or was there much opportunity before you would shoot a scene to kind of play around and really feel out the rhythm and the beats and the pacing of it?
Oh yeah, there was all of that and more because like the guys were saying, I want us to remember, we shot this in a pandemic and we were in masks and shields for the whole season. There wasn't a single. We were shooting in January this last January when there wasn't a single bed open in Los Angeles in a hospital, and we were coming to work every day with a smile on our face and going in and putting those masks on. And sometimes we didn't even see each other until the cameras were rolling. And we couldn't do what you normally do in a rehearsal where you're picking up subtle cues and subtle facial expressions, and your comment to Gary is likely to invoke some sort of surprise on his face, and you don't see that until the cameras are rolling. And so we would be in these scenes, and I swear, even though we'd rehearsed them like 3 or 4 times, we'd be in these scenes, and I go, oh, wow, that's cool. I hadn't thought of that.
Right.
And so even though it was a challenge and even though it was difficult, it also had some upside because the fact that we didn't have a lot of visitors and agents and publicists and all the people that we love and that work with us and everything, we had each other, and we we hung on to each other, and that really served us well. So in spite of the challenges of the pandemic, we were able to get in, and I think a special kind of energy kind of occurred between all of us, because we knew each other was all we had right there.
100%. And even to tag on to that, I would say one of the joys of the show was the fact that the writers and the cast were so worked together so well. So if we saw something on the page and we were in a scene and we were like, yo, this might go better like this, or we'd find a natural way to like do something, or we'll be just fucking around and doing some improv and find a better way to get to a point. They'll use that, they'll keep it in there. It was a very collaborative situation. And I think that brought 100% more to it than if it was something, the other way around.
Yeah, I was going to say the exact same thing. Like, we were lucky that we had such great collaborative showrunners with David and Jackie, and brilliant, surrounding writers like, Brian Tucker and Carl Tart and, others. So, I think none of us would, be able to function in an environment that didn't allow that, though, either. You know what I'm saying? Like, we all kind of demand the freedom to lean on our talents and our instincts to kind of tell us what's right. So if it's not sounding natural to us, like, we got to figure out a way for us to naturally get to where we want to go to service whatever, the writer's trying to get across in that point, whether it's a bridge to another thing that is a plot thing or whatever, or if it's just a joke moment right then and there. It still has to, be able to be spoken by us in a real way. So yeah, we were very lucky, but also, it was a beautiful formulation of a great team that, was able to give us that kind of leeway. And yeah, shooting in the pandemic did give us that freedom to kind of just lean on each other's, like, nuances of what we want to do and what we think is funny, blah, 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 without having to prove it to 15 different people every single time we shot a scene or something.
Right. And we did get tight fast, man. Our cast got tight like immediate, even through mask and all that. Like, it was like family.
Oh, I love this family. I mean, I love this family. I have the best time with those little girls, and these two are brothers. But Kimry and Taylor and Fortune and everybody in the show, it's like playing in Miles Davis's jazz band. That's what it's like.
Yeah.
It's like playing with the greatest jazz band in the world, which in my mind is Miles Davis, and being an instrument in that band, and getting to play, and every once in a while somebody sings out and breaks into a solo, and so on and so forth, and it's all, and everybody does it with such great commitment and enthusiasm. It's joyful. I've done this a lot. I'm telling you, this is pretty joyful.
It's ensemble, I'm a big fan of the word ensemble, and like the best ensembles are really obvious, because they're our favorite shows: Friends, Seinfeld, Cosby, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Ensembles, those core groups of people, is what makes those shows so wonderful, that we come back. We don't come back to check in with just one person. We come back to check in with the group. And real groups that love each other and lift each other up, they're obvious, you know what I mean? And then it's obvious, unfortunately, when groups are kind of butting heads, like, like Desperate Housewives or something like that. You can just tell that certain people mess with each other and certain people don't. And then the rumor mill, what you're reading about, it doesn't help when you watch the next episode, because you're just looking for, oh, was that a moment when old girl didn't want to come to work that day or whatever, you know what I'm saying? And it's like a big distraction. But I never wanted to distracting things. You know what I'm saying? I never wanted to be a part of, taking light away from somebody else's talent either. I think we all are blessed to have this 22-minute window to showcase our God-given abilities, and to do it together as a family is one of the most beautiful approaches to it that I could ever ask for.
Truly.
To your point of ensemble, I think what's really special about a lot of the characters in this is that that care has been taken, you know, in the character development and the writing process and every step of the way. And you've even mentioned how you wanted all of these characters to be able to exist on screen, even if Kenan isn't in a scene or isn't, you know, if he wasn't in the whole series at all, that it would still completely work with all of these characters. And so how did you and the rest of the creative team make sure every single step of creating the show that that was always going to be the case with these characters and taking that care?
It's throughout the shooting, you know, it's throughout the entire day's worth of shooting. Like, you know, we break down the scene, we rehearse it, you know, before every time we shoot a scene, you know what I mean? So it's the same process. And as we're going through it, if you have 8 people in the room that are like, you know, the main cast and only 3 people are talking, it's like, all right, well, we're wasting somebody. You know what I'm saying? Like somebody doesn't have a moment here. And I'm always really glad when Jeff gets a laugh, because Jeff like is the guy at the end of the totem pole where it's like he gets a laugh, that means everybody else on the way there has gotten a laugh. So it's good.
Yeah. Well, it's been such a pleasure and such a joy to watch all of you in the show, and talking to you today. I can see why that dynamic absolutely works on screen. And thank you so much to the 3 of you for today.
Oh,
Good to see you guys, and thank you, Mara.